After a serious car crash, I texted my partner from the emergency department and asked her to come get me. She replied, "Sorry, can't just walk out of lunch with Quentin." "Get a taxi, eh?" I typed back one word. "Okay." What the two police officers said when they walked up to her table at the most fashionable restaurant in Christchurch ended a great deal more than her lunch. You learn the truth about people when things go wrong. Not at birthdays, not at barbecues. When the wheels come off. I know this better than most, because for 38 years I was an ambulance officer with St. John. I'm 62 now, still on the road, mostly mentoring the young ones these days. I have knelt on motorway tarmac at 3 in the morning holding the hand of a dying stranger. I've watched a farmer carry his injured wife half a kilometer across a paddock because he couldn't bear to wait for us. I have seen ordinary people become magnificent the moment it mattered. And then there was Cheryl. We'd been together 3 years. My wife passed away from cancer 7 years back, and for a long while I thought that part of my life was simply finished. Then I met Cheryl at a friend's 60th. She was 57, glamorous in a way that turned heads at the Bulls Club, funny, always the loudest laugh in the room. I was the quiet, steady one. I owned my house in Papanui freehold, I'd done my years of shift work and saving, and I suppose I thought we balanced each other. She brought the sparkle. I brought the stability. 18 months ago she moved into my place. The one splinter in all of it was a bloke named Quentin. Retired property developer, silver hair, drove a European car he washed more often than he smiled. He was Cheryl's dearest friend in the world, her words. They'd known each other since their 40s. Every Thursday, without fail, they had a long lunch in town. 2 hours minimum, sometimes 3. There were private jokes I was never let in on, text messages that made her smile and turn the phone face down. I raised it gently, exactly once. She told me I was being insecure, that men my age get possessive, and that Quentin was family. I let it go. At my age you tell yourself you're too old for jealousy, that trust is the whole point of starting again with someone. So I trusted her. That trust died on a wet Thursday afternoon on Bealey Avenue. I'd finished a day's shift and was driving home in the rain when a young fella in a lowered Subaru ran the red and collected me square in the driver's door. I don't remember the impact so much as the sound, that awful deep bang and then glass everywhere, and the steering wheel somewhere it shouldn't be. The next faces I saw were ones I knew. The crew that responded was from my own station. There is something deeply strange about being cut out of your own car by people you trained. My left arm was broken, that was obvious before the X-ray. Suspected concussion, ribs that lit up every time I breathed. As they were loading me, a police sergeant I've known 20 years, Pete Donovan, leaned into the ambulance. We'd worked 100 jobs together. "Your car's a write-off, mate," he said. "It's going on the truck. Who's your contact person? We need to do the notification and sort the tow paperwork." I gave him Cheryl's name and number. At Christchurch Hospital they cut what was left of my shirt off, gave me the good drugs, and confirmed it. Fractured humerus, concussion, 3 cracked ribs, no internal bleeding. Lucky, all things considered. My phone hadn't been so lucky. It had gone somewhere into the wreckage and stayed there. After an hour or so a nurse came in. "We've rung your contact person 4 times, she said. No answer. "Anyone else we can try?" No answer. I looked at the clock on the wall. 1:15. Thursday. Of course. I knew exactly which table she was sitting at. The nurse let me use the phone at the ward desk, and I sent Cheryl a text from that unfamiliar number, signed with my name so there'd be no confusion. I kept it simple. "It's me. I've been in a serious car accident on Bealey Avenue. I'm in ED at Christchurch Hospital, broken arm, the car's destroyed. My phone's gone. Can you come and get me? I want you to remember that detail, because it matters later." A strange number. A number she had never seen in her life. The reply came through inside 4 minutes. "Oh no, that's awful. But I'm right in the middle of lunch with Quentin. We've got the table at the Copper Fern. You know how hard that booking is. Can't just walk out of lunch. Get a taxi, eh? Tell me how you get on 20-inch. I read it twice. I'm told the painkillers dull your thinking. They didn't dull mine. If anything, everything went very still and very clear, the way it does at a bad job when you stop feeling and start working. The woman I shared my home with, the woman I'd named as the person to call if I died, had just weighed me against an entree and I'd come up short. I was lying in a hospital bed with my arm in a back slab, and her concern was the difficulty of the booking. 38 years on the road teaches you not to shout. It teaches you procedure. And sitting there, I remembered that procedure still had one step left to run. The police had not yet completed their notification. There was tow paperwork. There were personal effects in a written-off vehicle that somebody needed to deal with. I typed one word back. Okay. Then I rang Pete Donovan. Pete, it's me, I said. You'll have had no luck reaching Cheryl. Her phone's apparently hard to hear in restaurants. She's at the Copper Fern on Victoria Street, table for two, with a silver-haired gentleman. Given you couldn't raise her by phone, I'd say an in-person notification is the proper course. She'll need to be told about the tow and the personal effects anyway. There was a pause, and then Pete said, in a voice I recognized from 100 grim jobs, completely agree. It's procedure. I'll send a unit round now. You rest up. I leaned back into the pillows, broken arm on my chest, and for the first time that day I felt no pain at all. Update 1, as the young ones say. My old crewmate Tama came up to ED on his break to check on me. Big quiet man, 20 years beside me in the truck. He took one look at my face and said, "What's happened?" And don't say the arm. I showed him the text on the ward phone. He read it twice, the way I had. She's at the Fern right now, he said. While you're lying here? She is, I said. But two of Pete's constables are about to join her for dessert. Thomas stared at me, and then he laughed, a short shocked laugh, and shook his head. That's cold, mate, he said. That's the coldest, fairest thing I've ever heard. What happened at the Copper Fern came back to me through Pete, who got it from his two officers, and honestly, even on morphine I couldn't have scripted it better. The Fern is one of those places that exists to be seen in. White linen, fern fronds etched in the glass, half the tables filled with people who know the other half. Cheryl and Quentin had the window table. A nice bottle of Marlboro Save. Laughing away, apparently. Two uniformed constables walked in out of the rain. A restaurant like that goes quiet fast when the police arrive. The officers moved through the room without hurrying, checked the tables, and stopped at the window. Afternoon. Are you Cheryl Ashworth? She said yes, apparently with the special annoyance of a woman being interrupted in front of an audience. And then, calm and flat and plenty loud enough for the surrounding tables, the constable delivered the notification. That her partner had been involved in a serious collision on Bealey Avenue. That he had been cut from the vehicle and transported by ambulance to Christchurch Hospital with significant injuries. That police had attempted to contact her repeatedly for the past 2 hours, as she was his listed contact person. That the gentleman himself had advised where she could be found. And that she would need to liaise with the towing contractor regarding the recovery of personal items from the written-off vehicle. Every sentence was just procedure. Nobody accused her of anything. They didn't need to. The facts stood up at that window table and introduced themselves to the entire room. A man cut out of a wreck. 2 hours unreachable. Lunch. Pete's officer told him the color went out of her face like someone had pulled a plug. And Quentin, this is the detail I treasure, Quentin had his wine glass halfway to his mouth and just held it there, frozen, looking at Cheryl as if the lighting in the room had changed and he was seeing her properly for the first time. The constable finished with, "That's all, ma'am. You'll probably want to head to the hospital." And the two of them walked back out into the rain, leaving behind a silent dining room, a cooling main course, and a reputation lying on the floor in pieces. Update 2. I was discharged that evening, arm in a cast, scripts in my pocket. My younger sister Glenda, 60, drove in from Rangiora to collect me. Glenda is the one who should have been my contact person all along, and by God she let me know it. When I told her the whole story in the car, she gripped the wheel and said words I won't repeat, ending with, "She is not spending another night under your roof." I stayed at Glenda's. By then Cheryl had pieced together where I'd gone, and the messages started flooding the ward phone number, then my email. "I'm on my way to the hospital. I'm so sorry." My phone was on silent. I never saw the calls. On silent. She replied to a text from a number she'd never seen, inside 4 minutes, but somehow never heard 4 phone calls from the police. That lie didn't just fail. It confessed. A silent phone doesn't write back about restaurant bookings. Then the messages turned, the way they do. "Why aren't you answering? You're being childish. You sent the police to humiliate me in front of everyone. That was sick. This is your fault." From sorry to victim in under 3 hours. I didn't reply to a single one. The strangest message came that night, from Quentin himself, through Facebook of all things. Nearly word for word, "We've never properly met, but I want you to know I had no idea about your accident until the police arrived. When I understood what she'd known and sat through, I paid my half and left. I've been her friend for 20 years and I didn't know her until today. I'm sorry, and I hope you heal up fast. I won't be seeing her again." A self-serving note, sure, written to scrub his own hands clean. But think about what it meant. The friendship she had protected at my expense, the lunch she would not leave a hospital bed for, the man she chose over me. He walked out before the bill was settled. She had traded me for him, and he refunded her on the spot. Glenda handled the rest while I rested, and my sister missed her calling as a military commander. A moving company came to my house and boxed every last thing of Cheryl's, every dress, every shoe, every scented candle, stacked neatly in the garage. A locksmith changed the locks the same afternoon. Then Glenda sent one email from her own address. Cheryl was advised that the relationship was over, that she was not on any title or tenancy and her residence at the property had ended, that her belongings were packed and available for collection by appointment within 72 hours, supervised, and that any contact with me directly would be unwelcome. Cold, lawful, and final. She had handled my emergency like an admin task. So that is precisely how we handled her. Final update, 8 months on. The cast is long gone. The ribs took their time, ribs always do. I've told 1,000 patients that and now I believe them. I'm back doing light duties and teaching the new intakes, and my house in Papanui is quiet in the best possible way. Cheryl collected her boxes on day 2 of the 72 hours, with her brother and a hired van. Glenda supervised. Apparently Cheryl didn't say a word, just pointed at boxes, left the key on the bench, and drove off. The story of the constables at the Copper Fern went around her circle like a grass fire, because half her circle had been in the restaurant or knew someone who was. There was no version she could tell where it came out well. She tried, I heard. She told people I'd orchestrated a cruel stunt. But the bones of it were too simple and too damning. He was cut out of a wreck. She knew. She ordered dessert. People didn't take my side so much as quietly step back from hers. At our age, your reputation is most of what you've got left, and she'd spent hers on one lunch. About 2 months ago a long email arrived from a new address. She'd panicked, she said. She hadn't been thinking straight. Quentin had made it awkward to leave. She missed our life, she'd learned her lesson, couldn't 2 mature adults talk? I read it once, set up a rule sending anything from her straight to the bin, and went out to prune the roses. Here's the thing I'd want anyone to take from this, especially anyone my age starting over. The police, the restaurant, all of that was just the messenger. The real consequence was quieter. She lost a warm house, a steady man, and a faithful friend in a single afternoon, and not one of those losses was inflicted on her. She chose each one, with one text message, in 4 minutes flat. Don't listen to what people promise you. Watch what they do on the one day it costs them something. Anyone can hold your hand at a barbecue. Character is who turns up at the emergency department. And if you ever find yourself ranked below a lunch booking by the person who claims to love you, believe them the first time, gather your dignity, and act once, calmly, and never look back. She failed the only test that matters, and she failed it in writing. In the end, the crash broke my arm and saved my life. The arm healed. The life I kept. I've turned this over a great deal in the 8 months since, usually out in the garden where the thinking comes easiest, and the more I sit with it the simpler it becomes. Nothing that happened to Cheryl was done to her. That's the part people miss when they hear the story and call it a clever revenge. I didn't ruin her. She ruined herself in 4 minutes, in writing, and all I did was decline to soften the landing. Every loss she suffered came directly out of a choice she made with full information. She knew a man had been cut out of a wreck. She knew that man was me. And she ordered dessert. The police at the table, the boxes in the garage, the changed locks, those were only the receipt for a decision she'd already made over the entree. That's how cause and effect works in a life, I reckon, even if it takes years to show its face. You make a small choice about who you'll be when it costs you something, and one day the bill arrives all at once. Cheryl had been making that choice for 3 years in tiny installments, every Thursday lunch, every phone turned face down, and I'd been kind enough to keep paying her overdraft. The crash just closed the account. I'm not bitter about it, and I want that to come through. Bitterness is its own kind of choosing badly, and I've seen enough men my age curdle into it. What I feel instead is a sort of clean gratitude. The arm healed crooked for a while, but it healed. The harder fracture, the one I didn't know I was carrying, was the slow habit of mistaking sparkle for substance, of telling myself that trust meant never asking the hard question. That one needed breaking too. If there's anything worth handing on from all this, it's 3 plain things. The first is about character. Watch what people do on the one day it costs them, not what they say on the easy days, because anyone can be lovely at a barbecue. The second is about clear thinking. The painkillers should have fogged me, and instead everything went still, and in that stillness I saw the truth without flinching and acted on it once, calmly, without theater. That stillness is a thing you can practice, and you'll need it most on the worst day. And the third is about backbone. It is a hard, lonely thing to remove someone from your home and your life when part of you still wants the warmth back, even the counterfeit warmth. But a man who won't act on what he plainly sees isn't being patient or forgiving. He's just being afraid, and dressing the fear up as virtue. Cheryl wrote me a long email about lessons learned. Her lesson was never my concern. Mine was this: a partnership has exactly one rule, and the rule is that you show up when it counts. She didn't merely fail that test. She set the paper alight and walked out laughing. So I let her walk. In the end, the crash broke my arm and mended my judgment, and at 62 I'll take that trade every single time,